Today's live broadcast is rated ESV 16 for deep subject matter. Hello everybody, good evening. What do you do sometimes when life just isn't going your way and you feel sometimes it's better not to be there? What if everything you've ever lived for, everything you ever thought you were here for just disappears? How do you get through it? How do you make it out? When you find yourself in the darkest of places, what do you do to move on with life? What brings you a future? It's different for everybody, and nobody can ever understand it until they've experienced it. They can try, and everybody's is unique. So nobody is going to fully understand what you're going through at any time. But we're going to discuss it so maybe you got a better view of how other people are dealing with things at different times and how you can help others in their time of need. Are you guys ready to do this?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I like that answer.
Love is everywhere. Love is everywhere. Where you go, I'm there. Together, together, always together. Together, together, always together.
Good evening and welcome to Ear Shoulder Voice. I broke a rule on this show. One of the things this show is always meant to be is to talk about things and discuss things with people out there and let them know that you're not alone and let your problems out because everything can be solved through simple discussion. So we're going to open this a little bit darker than usual. I'm going to start with just a basic story before we bring our panelists in. So a week ago Monday, I pretty much just got in the mood and I wanted to bring up some images, and I created some collage photos of my family and stuff like that. I didn't know why. It was just something that I felt good about doing. And, it got me a little emotional. Most of my family has passed. The next day, Tuesday, I found myself in kind of a funk. Not a unique one. Everything was kind of a daze. Nothing mattered. You know how you wake up and you're in that twilight moment of a dream? That was pretty much my entire day. Didn't think anything of it. And then we had the next day, which was Wednesday. Wednesday came along, and I found myself very emotionally triggered. No matter what was said, the simplest things, I went off. I didn't know why. I thought I was just having a bad day like everybody else. None of these things seemed normal. But had somebody been around or had I paid attention to these, I would have seen there was a lot more going on. Because come Thursday, I woke up. And I didn't want to wake up. All I thought was, why did I have to wake up? Now, I've been through this before. I've been through many times where I've just felt like giving up. Usually what gets me through those points is the fact that I can see a light in the horizon. I can see something in the distance. For the first time in my life, it was black. The last thing I wanted to do was be alive. I started thinking about the things I had done for other people and how I had helped people and realized I didn't think anybody would ever do that for me. I felt more alone than I ever have in my life. And the only thing I wanted to do was end my life. I couldn't think of any way out. There was no brightness. There was no light at the end of the tunnel. I wanted nothing but to escape this world. Have I been a great person? Sure. Have I helped people out relentlessly? Of course. Do I entertain beyond belief? That is my goal. But maybe I outlived my usefulness. Maybe there was nothing else I could do. I've never been in such a dark place that nothing could pull me out. I made a move a lot of people don't make, and after 6 tries of posting and deleting, I put a post up that said I just needed to talk to somebody. Somewhat cryptic to make sure only people who understood what I was going through would respond. Some of the responses just sent me deeper in the darkness. Some helped me through, but they didn't get me through. Here I am today, and I've been dealing with this for a week now. I still want to die. I still don't want to be here. But right now, my brain's taken over. My brain is making a difference right now, and those around me have very much helped me out. But I'm having a hard time seeing that light. So what's the answer? Just end your life? Well, suicide is painless, right? But for who? That's what we're going to talk about right now with our panel. We've all been through this. We've all been going through stuff. And if you have too, please feel free to engage as much as you can because we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. But with that said, let's bring in our panel. Our first panelist tonight, please welcome back the lovely Nikki. How you doing, Nikki?
I'm okay, Keith. How are you?
I am absolutely fantastically fine and
You're
wonderful.
such
How
a
about
liar.
yourself? Well,
You're
I think I
such a
gave it
liar.
away at the beginning.
I had no idea that you were struggling. I've been so busy working this week and absent from social media for the most part. I didn't even see what this post you're talking about, and I'm sorry that I feel
That's
like
okay.
I
I
could
mean,
have
we
been there
miss a
for
lot
you
of
and I wasn't.
stuff. We miss a lot of
Huh?
stuff on social media, so I totally understood people who couldn't. I didn't think
Still,
that was
I
because of
feel
a
bad.
lack of interest. But
Yeah.
and the thing is, a lot of people don't see or they don't know, and they don't understand. One of the shows we talked about in our very first season was how the happy people sometimes you never think that about.
True.
And I've been there before. I've never been able to not pull myself out. There's a lot of reasons we'll go into as we go along. We're going to bring in our next panelist. Please welcome Teresa. What's going on, Tree?
Well, not much. Okay. I'm not asking you because you already lied to me once.
Right. You're just a
It's my
liar.
job. It's my job. You got to stay happy. But you know what? That's the point. Is you can still stay focused and happy, and things will get you through. At least, like I said, my head works now, and I believe there's going to be something else coming up, but I don't know what, and I don't really feel it. If that makes any sense to you, like
Because
my head takes place saying, "Hey, you've been here before." Has either one of you ever been in this situation? We'll discuss it as we go. But has either one of you been to that point?
Yeah.
You have.
Yeah,
So we're going to
most
have definitely
definitely.
discussion. Okay. We're going to get to each one of your stories and we're going to move on, but we've also got our next panelist. Please welcome back the lovely and amazing Rhonda. Rhonda, glad to have you.
Hi
I don't know if we can
guys.
hear her. Oh, there she is. How you doing, Rhonda?
although
Hi, I'm
Rhonda's got a
good.
small delay on her.
I'm good.
That's good. So you
Yeah,
heard
my
the opening
computer's acting
discussion.
really weird.
That's okay.
I
Whoever
did.
fixed it probably did a
I
terrible
did.
job. So,
I know. My IT guy is the worst.
he's terrible. He's absolutely awful. So, Rhonda, you heard the discussion, a lot of it. Have you been in situations like that as well? Have you ever felt like it's just gone? It's over?
I have, and very recently. And so when I got your post, it just broke my heart to know that somebody I know and love is in the same position that I'm in.
We often fail to see that, and it's really hard when you come across it because you think you're the only one there. And the conversations that people
For sure.
have with each other, people think they're scared to talk about it. And the biggest thing I think people are scared of is nobody will understand them. Because everybody says the same thing. How important are you? We need you around. And they'll tell you things that you've heard 1,000 times. How much does one believe it? Nikki, do you want to start about your experiences in this?
Yeah, I mean, so I've experienced this a few times, probably like most recently, just in my struggles with all like the medical stuff that I'm going through, and probably other things that impacted it. I was to a very dark place. But one thing I can say about like being there, at least from my experience, is while we think that nobody else is experiencing it, we're all alone. I think it's because it's a very one dimensional kind of place when we're there. We can't really think outside of the box of where our brain is sitting. So by reaching out and like kind of stepping outside that box helps us to reground ourselves from just that little box into the bigger box kind of thing. And that's, yeah, all we can do is talking is probably the most important thing that you can do when you are feeling that way, even though you might not even feel like talking. But
Do
that's
you,
how you get out of that.
do you ever get to the point that you intentionally don't talk to people?
Sure.
Or are there certain ones that you just don't want to talk to, no matter how good of
Yeah.
friends they are? One thing people tend to do, and I had this a little bit when I was going through it with people who had called me or talked to me, was explain, oh, I've been there before, and then they start talking about how they were there to the point they're not helping you anymore. You're rewalking through them through their situation, and that can make it really tough sometimes. What about you, Tree?
Yeah, I've definitely been in that situation. Um, Not super recently, but I was actually over the holidays. Me and my husband were talking about how we went to see it. It's a Wonderful Life in the theater, and it like triggered a memory from when I was a kid. And I remember, like the first time I was really in that place, I was in sixth grade.
Okay, so
So like very early, I remember like being in that place. But I don't know. I think that you know, like what Nikki said, you're in that like small box, and all you can see is that small place, and then you talked about like all you could see was like dark. You couldn't see the future, and I think that that's like very relatable. Like that feeling of like there's no hope. Because if we have hope, there's like something to hold on to. There's something to like
yeah,
grab hold of that like pulls us out of that box, even if it's just like standing in the doorway, or even if it's just like taking a step in the right direction. But if you can't see it, it's just like it's hard to get anywhere if you can't see
it
anything.
is. And like I've always taken great pride in being able to see that bright light, that future. I have taught people many times. I've taken people out of this situation, and this is the first time that you're never too old to learn, and I learned something. I learned what it's like, to really not have that, to not have that horizon, to not see the sun coming up. Because I've always been able to do that, and I taught myself, but I literally could not see anything. And Rhonda, what about your experiences? If she's still there,
My recent experiences, I don't know if you can still hear me or not.
yeah, you're good.
Okay, so my recent experiences were with my son. Um, my son, over the last year, has tried to commit suicide twice, and we'll probably get more into his situation. But for me, at that time, just made me feel like a failure. Um, and it puts you into a very dark place where if my son's didn't feel like his life was worth living, then why should mine be? Um, I dealt with it mostly by myself, those feelings, and you are alone, you are so isolated, you keep all that to yourself. And it wasn't really until Keith made his post and I reached out to him that I realized I wasn't alone.
You're right about the isolation thing, and everybody sometimes goes through it differently. I said one of the biggest things was who would do for me what I do for others? Seeing the stuff coming up, is there anybody out there? Is there a worth to it? Now, I know that everybody on this panel, and probably hundreds of people I know, if they were aware, would be there. Rhonda, you were proof on that, obviously. You know, when you're aware, you find out. But it's hard to be aware because most people, it took me 6 times to get a post up after putting it up and deleting it almost immediately. A lot of people won't even do that. And that's why we've got to look for the signs. Did anybody ever have any signs or things, looking in retrospect, going, wow, I think I should have seen this coming. I should have looked out sooner.
You mean for myself
For
or
yourself.
for
For
like somebody
yourself.
else? It's a hard question because I think it's hard to like foresee yourself getting to a dark place. Although, I mean, I guess I can acknowledge when I'm kind of slipping. But I don't think I'm at a place where I could like be able to pick out and acknowledge that I was getting to that place. Um I mean, maybe I could because I do remember saying to my husband like I've had some really dark thoughts. Now whether that was me trying to get him to like talk it over with me, I don't know, but I should have recognized the source I was going to. That's not his thing. He's not a talker. He's just like the quiet, silent. But But maybe by me saying it out loud helped me to keep myself from like stepping over the edge, like making somebody else aware. I don't know.
Has
I just know
anybody?
I'm still here. So,
It's strange that you mentioned that because you said like your husband's like not the talker and stuff. Has anybody ever surprised you in that sense? Like somebody you thought would never be the person to talk to you or discuss. Have you ever had them come forward and say, "Wow, this person really does know what they're talking about and what I'm going through"?
no, not strangers, because you know me, I'll talk to everybody. And if somebody comes off with something I can relate to, it might go to that place. But yeah, I'm the talker in the relation, like in the relationships I carry. I think I don't have a lot of people who are. I mean, people confide in me, but not. I've never had somebody come to me in that place.
I,
I would have to say no too because I don't let people like I don't let people see that. Like I feel like I can't burden
Yeah,
anyone with it, and you know, like
yeah,
the last time that was really really bad for me, my kids were young, and like literally, like I tell them now sometimes as adults, I'm like, you guys don't even know that you saved my life in the very literal sense of the word. You saved my life because they were like my driving force when I couldn't see any hope, any future, anything. They were my driving force because I knew they needed me, and that was literally it.
yeah.
the feeling that's always gotten me. I've said it before. Is one of my quotes. The world's not ready to be rid of me, and that's how I did. That's my driving force, and it's a little different when what you're most upset at is all you are is needed. You're not wanted. You're not a friend to most people. You know, you don't. You're needed for what you can provide them. And we often look like you two. I'm gonna get to Rhonda in a minute because Rhonda I know is kind of in the same boat as me with this. You always have somebody to pull you out. Now, Rhonda, what if you don't have that person? How do you get
Um,
through?
I internalize being in the field that we're in.
Oh, did she freeze?
I don't know. I think she might have froze.
She looks frozen.
Yeah, she looked frozen, but I thought we'd still hear her. She should come back online in a minute. But internalizing, I'll continue a little bit on that because that's what we do. And oh, there's Rhonda. Okay, go ahead, Rhonda. We lost you for a minute.
Hello, I'm back. So
Welcome
yes,
back.
I internalize. I went from thank you, um, being a karaoke host to going into bartending. You're expected to be an uplifting spirit. You're there to make people happy and to brighten their day and maybe to bring them out of a bad situation so that when you go through those bad situations yourself, you can't express them.
Yeah,
We, as hosts, we are made to internalize. And so we always go to work with a smile on our face, and nobody truly knows what's going on deep down inside.
that's very accurate. And they don't. And we look, and people say that things like that and helping others and being that way is a selfless act, you know. But the truth is, we all want a return. And that's one thing I've failed to see sometimes myself because I like to think what I do is kind of selfless. You know, I don't look for anything back. But when you're going through those moments, you wish somebody could see it. You look through that when you're in that situation that somebody is there for you for a change. And that's what a lot of people don't seem to understand or get. And some people avoid it. I'll got to say, like 5 people messaged me when I put up this post. And then I explained the situation. This was like when it first happened. One of them responded. One. Now, thank God that one did. But that's the position a lot of people are in. They don't want to deal with it, even though you may have done so much for them in your life. And as unfortunately as the empathetic people we are, and as we try to help others, that often rubs off onto us. I don't know if anybody else has experienced it where you're dealing with somebody and their problems actually bring you down with your own problems. like they
Yes.
relate so much to it. So when they're trying to help you, they're making things worse
Yes.
because you start to understand that. Now, you said you internalized, Rhonda. Did you have anybody that was able to help bring you out of this, or did you pretty much have to do it yourself? And what
No,
did you
I did it
use?
myself. I absolutely did it myself. Um, with the field that we're in, I think I would try to have conversations with people that I trusted, um, and maybe drop subtle cues or maybe subtle hints that I was in a bad place without actually coming out and saying it. Um, Hoping that they would catch on and say, "Hey, what's going on? How can I help?" And I didn't get that in return, so I dropped the conversation.
And that
And so
makes
I
it harder.
internalize. Right. You just internalize.
And anybody in the chat, feel free, of course, to comment here. We want to hear from everybody because we're all different, and knowing what you've been through or how you've gotten through it helps everybody who watches, including the panelists you see right now. So please, of course, feel free to discuss anything you want on there. Now, I don't know how to get out of the situation. You start to
Right.
realize that people deal with this a lot longer than they seem to. It's been a week for me since this moment, and I mean, people, oh, glad you're all better. No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
They're not. And the more people can push on, the more often they're pushing you in directions they don't want to. Now, we all need help. We spend our lives, we spend our channel here trying to get people out of the situation, trying to constantly help. But how do you get people to help, but not do things that can push you further in a negative direction? What is some advice for people who really want to help others out here who are dealing with this that you guys can give? I don't care who gives it right now.
Maybe just being being there for someone, not necessarily to even talk, but just being there and causing a distraction, or but with your presence there distracting from the struggle. I think that just helping to take your mind to a different place can help push you rather than
Distraction is a
push down.
huge key. Distraction
Yeah.
is a key because you cannot just fix this for anybody. You can
Right.
get them through the day. You maybe you'll get
Right.
them through the week. But if they've hit this point, that thought's going to be with them for a very long time. And that's what we often settle with. So don't disappear. And I think that's what some people do. They feel the problem's solved. They don't have to worry anymore. They can
Right.
go their own way. And when you disappear, you push them further in the darkness. A lot of people, of course, like I said, everybody tells me how great I am and how much I'm needed. I went to work I took 2 days off and then I went in the next day. It was the worst mistake I could have made because it tore me apart with how much I do for everybody else. Even if it's just like the entertainment aspect, that all these people don't give a fuck about me. And I'm not saying that people don't. I'm saying this is where our mind takes us.
Yes.
This is what we believe. There are people that care. Obviously, we're all ones who care on here. What about you, Tree or Rhonda? With how do you try to get, I guess, like talking to somebody like I asked Nikki, without them going overboard? Or what's your suggestion on helping somebody going through that, being that you've gone through it yourselves?
Um, to help somebody, I think is just catching those mild cues that people give that we often miss. And when you hear those subtle cues that people may give you, to further question that and make sure that they're okay and to be there and to just listen to them, let them tell their story. Um, I know when I talked to Keith about his problem, we were at a restaurant when Keith told me what was going on. And I literally started tearing up in the restaurant. Like I had tears running down my face because I listened to his story and I was going through the same thing. And Keith, to me, being the brave soul that he is, reached out for help. I have never once in my entire life reached out for help. I've never asked for help. And to me, that was like the bravest thing that somebody could possibly have done.
Teresa, you're muted, by the way. That
I
and
was
like I
taking,
said, it's so hard sometimes. It's so hard sometimes to do it. I didn't want to. First of all, I don't want to be grouped in with all these other people that you see that are I hate to say it,
Hmm.
attention seekers.
mm,
Every day it's something else. And I'm not saying these people aren't going through things. We all are. But there's a difference in the serious ones. There's a huge difference, and I don't want to be glossed over. And sometimes trying to reach out and getting no response is way worse than knowing you didn't reach out.
mm.
And Tree, what were you going to say before you were unmuted?
Oh, sorry. I was honestly, I was just shaking my head and agreeing with Rhonda, but I think that, I mean, I honestly, I can't say what I needed anyone to do for me in that moment because I just really isolated and didn't let anyone in and just dealt with it. And like, I don't know. Like I said, my kids were my driving force. But I think that there's a couple things that are important because being like an empathetic person, you want to be there and you um, want to be supportive and be a listening ear and whatever, but you also need to like regulate that somehow. Like, they say counselors, like, every counselor needs a counselor. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So we've got our own stuff in, like, I always visualize like a cup. So, like, I've got all my own stuff in a cup. And if I'm like on the verge and I'm in a really bad place, and then I take on your stuff, then my cup starts overflowing and it's not
Yeah.
like, it's, you can't contain it. So, like, you need a way to, like, I guess if you're going to put yourself in that situation, I think we talked about like other people start telling you their problems and it becomes about them instead of, or, and about them and their
Well, you're
problem.
right.
And I think we need to regulate that as people who do have a lot of empathy. Um, but I feel like it's just a situation that a lot of people don't know what to say. So they say nothing. And saying nothing is worse.
Yeah.
Because then, like you said, you feel like, well, you know, it like feeds those negative thoughts we have. Like it feeds the thought, well, like I'm sitting here thinking, wow, nobody cares and I have no one and whatever. And then you do put yourself out there, and if nobody responds, then it just like emphasizes, like, well, yeah, see, you're right.
I
Like,
absolutely
I
do
know
have
my brain
nobody.
spirals like that,
Right.
right down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And that's where it takes you. 100%. And sometimes when you turn it around on yourself, when you're trying to help somebody, and as a panel here, that's what we try to do. We have to understand it as well. And you come to situations like this where if we don't always know how to handle it, how can we help other people handle it? Where can we go from there? And you don't, because when you're in that place, you have no idea. But when you're talking to somebody who turns it around on themselves, an example, I had two people actually talk to me, and one of their stories, they were the same story. I had a birthday party and nobody showed up. So they felt bad, they were depressed, and I'm like, what's a birthday party? That's my response to them. Because to me, you're making this about your problem, and a birthday party means jack shit to me. I've never even had one, so I didn't just have nobody show up. I never had someone acknowledge it.
Yeah.
So it starts to make you think, wow, I'm worse off than you are. If that made you want to do it, then what's going to push me to that direction? But one of the words that was constantly used, especially for a person like me, because most people do know me and do know what I do for a lot of people, was depleted. And that word means a lot. Because when somebody gives everything they can of themselves, and those that don't know me, I, I literally live to help. It is my driving force. It is what I want. I give up relationships, households, everything. I've got 5 people with no home living in my house right now that would have nowhere else. I have always altered my life for that. And when somebody like me or members of this panel or like you out there does so much like that and gets depleted when it comes to their own problems, how can they help themselves? What can they do? They have nothing left. They've given it out to everybody else. Now, I'm not a saint. I'm an asshole too. I can be a dick and stuff like that 100%. You know, I'm not innocent in that matter. But I do everything that has always made me feel good. And this is my situation, different than everybody else's, of course, has been what I've done for other people. When I see people succeed, when I see them having fun because I'm working the bar or karaoke, you know, when I see people getting off their feet or quitting doing their drugs or alcohol or sobering up or getting back together with that, those are my rewards, and that's always been what makes it worth it. But when you stop getting those rewards as well, you feel you've outlived all your usefulness. You're of no use to anybody around anymore. So has anybody else gotten the depleted thing? Do they understand that?
Yeah.
Explain to me, Nikki.
I mean, just when. So when you come to that place, like we've all said, we've given all we can give, and now we kind of need somebody to give something back to us. And they've taken everything from us, and there's nothing to give back. Like, and it's easy to put us into that place of feeling, I guess, not useless, because we've helped a lot of people, but we're useless in the sense of our health. Like, our mental health is useless at this point. One thing I like, another tip, I guess, in helping someone who may be struggling, if they have voiced to you some struggle that, even if it's not completely opening up, but you can see that they're in a dark place, probably one of the best things, aside from being present, is to be able to listen. And I could stand to use some of my own advice, but that's probably why I'm saying it, but just listen and allow them to open up about what they're struggling with. And while you may feel like you're helping by, sharing your experiences, I mean, Keith has stated it. I think maybe Teresa stated it too. Rhonda probably even did too. It's not helpful as much as you want it to be helpful. So just being able to listen and be present is probably, like, we could save lives if we, could open our eyes and see that there's people struggling all around us.
100%. Listening is the best thing you can do. Do not do comparisons, because your life is not their life.
Right.
You can compare emotions and states. Do not compare the things going on in your life. Like, I had a few people that decided to bring this up at work, which was not the best idea, but, they can't shut up. And they talk about their kids pulled them out, their husband pulled them out. Now, I've got no fucking relation to that, because I don't have anything like that.
Right.
Everybody who I just said was in my house, nobody cared. I didn't talk to them.
Really?
Yeah. So it's things like that. You don't have those people. And it's not that those people did not get you through something. Because bravo, they did. You were in just as dark a time. But I need you to understand what I'm feeling, not hear what you have that I don't.
Right.
Not hear that, in my opinion, your previous problem to me means jack shit, because it doesn't compare to what I have going right now. And to you it did, but you're not helping somebody. In no way does the fact that nobody showed up to your birthday party help me with feeling I've done everything for everybody and I've outlived my usefulness and I shouldn't be here anymore. But you telling me about having that kind of emotion and feeling, you may just be able to talk to each other and get yourself through it. Has anybody, like I asked before, and I know this is a hard subject to talk about a bit, so I appreciate everybody being on here, because there's not a lot of comedy, obviously, for this one. There's, we can't. Okay, so let's go a little darker here, as if it's not dark enough.
I was about to say, wow.
But we really have to discuss going through it.
Yeah.
What did we feel? Where did we turn? Did we turn to alcohol? Is that the way to do it? Do you see people doing that, or other forms of drugs? Is it a good idea to turn to those things? And I mean, obviously, the professional answer is fuck no. But the real answer is we're human. Has anybody had to turn to something like that? And what did it feel like going through it? Did it help? Did it make it worse? Or have you dealt with somebody who has? Okay, good enough. Good enough.
Okay. Well,
Okay, Rhonda.
Nobody.
well, okay. So, first of all, I think I want to apologize to Keith because when Keith was going through his problem, and like I said, we were talking in a restaurant, and he was telling me, it took a while for him to tell me, but he told me what he was going through. And little did he know I was going through the same thing at the same time. And though I listened to his story, I probably didn't give him 100% of my attention because it drew out such raw emotion of what I was going through at the same time that I think we shared stories. Instead of me focusing my attention on somebody I consider one of my best friends in the world, I did turn it on me. And I did, but in my defense, it was more, you're not alone. I'm going through
Rhonda.
it as well.
You are apologizing for saving my life.
No.
Because what you did, and this is what we're talking about on the show, and this is what's important for people to understand. Yes, you gave me your situation, but you didn't give me your situation of all, I got through it, everything's great. You related to right where I was right then.
Right.
You helped me more than you could imagine because that's how you started. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to understand that the people we're talking to are not through this situation. You've got to relate to where they are now. And I couldn't have asked anybody to do anything more than what you did, Rhonda. And that's what people need to understand. And I cared about you. I made it about me. I made it about you. We do that.
We do.
But we also listened to each other and we didn't compare who's worse, who's better. I went
Right.
through this and I got through, you're going to be fine. No, we were on the same level. If you're going to help anybody, you have to be able to relate to the level they're on. You can't relate the future because the future is black. They don't see it. Don't you ever apologize for doing something like that because that's not at all how I interpreted anything you did.
It is how I interpreted it. And on the way home, I thought to myself, like, you're an ass. You're a total ass. Your best friend was telling you about such a devastating problem that he was facing, and he was facing it alone, and somehow you turned that problem into your problem.
This is where we make mistakes, is when we analyze ourselves over how we helped. It is true you can't compare a lot of things or tell stories, like I said, about how you got through it and how everything's great. But you can't overanalyze something that made such a huge difference. Because, especially for somebody like me, I want to talk to you. I want to
know.
find usefulness in my life as well. My advice on not telling everybody everything that's going on with you is entirely based on how a lot of people are. What I needed was somebody who needed me to talk to. I needed to feel useful. And it's different for everybody. Some people are useless, and that's what I was feeling, was useless. I needed to feel useful. I needed to relate. And you related better than anybody I talked to. So don't fucking apologize.
Oh, my whole insides are just shaking from this conversation.
Okay, well let's move on. Make it a little easier to Nikki or Tree.
Okay.
Wait, can you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
I gotta remember it at that
ADD,
point.
ADD.
But when you hit that point, did you ever turn to anything? Did you ever know anybody that turned to anything? And
Oh.
how have you gotten through that moment?
No, you know what I turned to was like self-loathing, just kind of digging myself deeper. That's what I turned to, like the deeper darkness.
Well, that's
Yeah, I mean, I could see in my younger years there was a time where I did turn to pills. Like I was trying to numb the pain. That's the only way I knew how at that point. Now I'm like Rhonda, I internalize a lot because I'm the type of person like anybody could call me about anything and I'm going to listen and I'm going to try to help you through it. But I always, when I'm to that place, that dark place, and you may have felt that way too, like you said, Keith, I felt useless. I felt kind of unwanted, kind of unheard. Like I needed my voice to be heard and there was no one there to listen. So I would just take it to paper. Thankfully, it wasn't drugs or alcohol or something that could have caused, a whole nother ball of bees, but I'm sure there are people who do because
Well,
it's
people
numbing. They're trying
treat
to numb that.
depression with depressants, and that's a problem.
Right.
Because it brings you way further down
Right.
at that point. And Teresa, have you ever had to turn or deal with somebody who turns to that? Because pulling those people out of it can be even harder.
Um, I there have been times that I've used, like alcohol would be like mainly, not a lot, but there have been times I've done that. Um, I isolate, like I'm by myself. Sometimes I would write just whatever, like whatever's in my head, I just like throw it on the paper.
Writing it down is great. It's just now today's world, nobody has paper and pencil anymore.
Oh,
I do.
I know, but I mean, a lot of people don't. You go over to somebody's house, you got a piece of paper.
I know.
Like that.
But the writers.
I'll put it in my
the
phone.
writers will still always.
Yeah.
Writers do.
yeah. Sometimes it helped, but then sometimes I would like revisit it and then that would like send me back in a spiral, like
Right.
I would almost, if I wrote it, I would almost have to destroy it so that I didn't revisit it. Cause like, I don't know, I'm a chronic overthinker. So, and like, I would even
It's-
be like when Rhonda was telling her story about how you guys had your interaction, I wanted to like reach out and just give her a big hug because I
Yes.
feel like she was getting down on herself for something that she did that from an outsider. I mean, you kind of said what I was thinking, but I was like, well, yeah, of course we're going to relate on some level. Of course we're going to,
Yeah.
say like, wow, I've been there, I'm there right now too, or whatever. And that's so like I guess what I was thinking, I'm sorry, I'm like I feel like I'm all over the place right now, but what I was thinking first, I wanted to give you a big hug, Rhonda.
Oh, thank you.
Because like my heart was breaking that you were down on yourself, and I could tell from just a little bit Keith had said about it that he didn't feel that way at all. But I think that we need to be careful because that mindset that we put on ourselves is like why we don't reach out.
Yeah.
Like, you did it after the fact. Like you second guessed after the fact. But I think a lot of us, I know sometimes I've been guilty of second guessing before the fact. So I'm like, well, I don't say anything because I don't want to say the wrong thing, or I don't want to, make things worse or whatever. And we say nothing. And like, nothing is worse. Nothing is worse. And like,
Right.
even if maybe whatever was in your head, whatever like thoughts you were perseverating on that were like, that's not how Keith saw it.
No.
Keith saw it as like you put your hand down where he was and like helped him walk up the stairs a little bit. Even if he didn't make it all the way to the top, you helped him take those steps. And I think that that's something that we need to be aware of, is just like, and like, God bless you for like making the effort and putting forth something and not overthinking in that moment and just being yourself and being there for a friend. Like that's an amazing gift that you gave him. And I think that just the big thing is just to like not let us and I'm like talking to myself as much as anyone else. I don't know if this helps anyone else. It helps me.
That's
But I think that like I will overthink something. Like I'll feel like I should say something to someone, or I'll like feel like I should reach out to someone, and then I'll get in my head about like, oh wow, I don't want to like sound whatever. I don't want to look like whatever, and then like I don't say anything.
Right.
And then I look back and I'm like, wow, I'm an asshole. Like I really care about that person, and they don't even know because I sat here in my head spiraling into my own darkness when I could have given a hand to a friend. So,
But there's
Thank you.
and there's also the difference there. Like I was telling Rhonda, if you're teaching somebody something or you're trying to explain something to somebody, your kids, the best way to do it, what do you have to do? You have to take it down to their level. Or if you're dealing with somebody who is, maybe special needs or something like that, you can't explain things the same way. You take it down to their level. Dealing with somebody who is feeling depressed, suicidal, anything like that, you have to do kind of the same thing. You have to
Meet
take
'em
it
where
to
they
the
are.
level they're at, because that's what they'll understand, and that's why Rhonda did so much for me. Um, I'm not going to do promotions. Okay, spam in the chat.
Nice.
awesome.
This is the show to spam us.
Woo, yeah.
So now I feel guilty for saying that we should one of the best things we could do is listen. But on the same token, I think I was kind of referring to the ones who try to flip it, and it's like it now becomes it's like all about them.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are the people I think I was referencing.
Well, when you're dealing with people in our situations, I don't know if it always applies when you're there. Our instinct is to
Right.
flip that switch ourselves to help you, even if
Yeah.
you're not trying to. We all, and believe it or not, with certain people, this can actually help because they forget what they're going through and they realize their purpose, and that is to help
True.
other people. It's very important to know the person.
Yeah.
There are
Yes.
people that need to see the love and the need. There's people who just need an apology. There's people who just need to vent and listen. And think about what they've talked about, and think about conversations you've ever had with them, and realize what they have. It's different for everybody. What they've shared, what they haven't shared, what they've been through, and how they carry themselves, and kind of match to that level. That they are. Understand that person. If you're a person who is or dealing with a person who constantly says how nobody likes them and their family hates them and all this other stuff, and then they get in this mode, you know what to attack. If you're dealing with somebody that never says anything, then you have to deal with something a little more internal with them. You can't attack those same things. You have to internally be at their level, be where they are, and understand what's going on. Now, obviously, nobody wants to be in this situation, and we know completely 100% that there's no magic button to pull you out. And everybody in their time is going to feel this way, and all their friends are going to feel guilty, shamed, apologetic for what they did, or anything like that because they couldn't do anything in the moment. Now, this is not to anybody on this panel or anybody out there watching or anybody in particular, but these problems can be solved a lot sooner.
Agreed.
They don't have to get to this point. When people reject you, when people ignore you because it doesn't matter, when you're dealing with something and people aren't there, these little things that to you is just, oh, whatever, I'll get in touch with them later. Oh, I'll talk to them later. Oh, they're fine. I'm sure they're good. Those are what are building up inside people.
Yeah.
And I've always been backburnered. It's just luck of the draw. God was cooking me up and threw me on the back. Here you are. So I have always. Well, you feel that way, and I mean it in the most,
Yeah. No, I know.
way possible. But you get backburnered,
In
and
the
you
most
get used
sincere
to
way.
it. But when you get to these
do.
points, and you've been backburned so much, you start to realize that nobody is there, and you look back. My Christmas party kills me. People don't understand that, and I hope people watching still show up if I have another one, because they're fun. But the next time I see them, the next Christmas
The
party.
Next
Yeah.
Christmas.
That's it. When I'm providing everything I can for them, and they don't realize that 364 days you're ignoring somebody's existence. You are not acknowledging they're there. You're only using them for 364 days for what you can get, for their entertainment value, sometimes even for the laughs they bring. But you never just, when's the last time, thank you, Rhonda, somebody said, to you, who's just a friend, hey, we're all going to lunch, you want to join? Hey, we're going to see this movie. Hey, we're going to this concert. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. And you feel like such an outsider all the time. And that's the problem with everybody around you when people act like, oh, they're so depressed and they get to this point and whatever. The people around you often are responsible, whether it be friends or family or anything like that. There is nothing hard in this world about communicating with people.
Mm-hmm.
We have more access to communication than you can ever imagine, than we ever did before. And at the same time, we have that access to communication. It also makes it harder because people going through this know you have access to communicate
Right.
and you choose not to. Has anybody seen themselves coming up to this point or reflected when they've been at this point to stuff that relates to that? I know you said, Nikki, you felt useless. You felt as well. And Rhonda, I think everybody here actually. So has anybody seen that? And what could they tell if they were opening up to their friends or the people who are watching this to do to prevent these situations, or at least try? Nothing is fully preventable, but at least try.
Oh, I have a lot to say.
Do it up, Rhonda.
All right. So this is kind of my story. I have an adult son, and he's an alcoholic, and he decided his life wasn't worth living, and drank himself almost to death. I received a call in the middle of the night from a hospital. Um, he had called 911 because he knew he was dying from alcoholism. They took him in, and by the time he got to the hospital, he was convulsing. He went into a comatose state. The doctors had called me and told me he wasn't going to survive. They told me to start planning his funeral. He's my only child. It was the hardest words I ever had to hear. And my family was aware of this. For 2 days, he was in a coma, seizuring in a coma. I had a fabulous nurse. This was during COVID, so I couldn't go to the hospital to actually even be with him during this time. They weren't allowing visitors. So I had a nurse who would call me every hour on the hour to tell me my son's condition and to tell me that he wasn't getting better. He wasn't going to survive. Um, I reached out to my family and told them of the situation. And my family, my parents are deceased, so it's just me and my siblings left. And my siblings, still to this day, have never reached out to me to say, how are you doing? Can I do anything for you? They all know now he's alive and well. He survived it, came out of it perfectly normal.
Wow.
But they have never once reached out. And I think that's the most heartbreaking thing ever. The people that you entrust your feelings in, the ones that you reach out to, because how many people do you tell this story to, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is something that you just don't talk about. This is taboo. You don't ever tell people that you have a troubled child. You don't tell people your story. And so you are very selective with who you tell your story to. And those people that you entrust, those people that you give your heart to, and you tell them your deepest, darkest secrets, and they don't respond back to you. They don't think about you the following week to say, how you holding up? That's the hardest thing I think a human has to ever go through. And so Keith has been a very long, long time great friend of mine. And when we did meet up, and he was telling me his story, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I could tell him my story without judgment. And that's the biggest part of it too, is without judgment. Like, I can't even say that strong enough. That I told him my story, and I think that's like when I broke down the most, was because not only could I open up to him, but I also knew genuinely that he cared. once I knew my son was better, that was the craziest part, was when I knew my son survived and he started doing better. That's when I internalized everything. And it took me to a very dark place that all of a sudden I felt I couldn't help my son. I couldn't protect him. I couldn't keep him safe. And that's when those thoughts of suicide ran rampant in my head. If I couldn't protect my child, what am I doing on this earth? And that's when it all came about for me. And it wasn't long after that Keith and I met up and I got to tell my story to him. And it was just such raw emotion. And it really is just having somebody to not only tell your story to that you trust, but somebody that's gonna reach back out to you later and say, how you doing? You still hanging on? Is there anything I can do? Do you need to talk? That's probably what I think people in our situation crave the most.
It is. I mean, you really pinpoint a lot of times there is the reason people don't tell you, the reason people always seem happy, like everything's fine. Judgment.
Judgment.
You're afraid of how people are going to view you, not even because of your situation, not because of what you're going through, just the fact that sometimes you even feel that way because you're not allowed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And that, I can tell anybody out there, even though I don't follow it, nobody on this panel follows it 100%, but if you can, you've got to get it out there to people you trust. Just getting things like that out there can save your life. And by saving your life, you could be saving countless people around them at the same time. There is such a ripple effect with letting human emotions interact with each other, to letting people understand, to give people the benefit of the doubt that maybe they'll get it. Maybe you're not alone. Not being alone is huge. Because the one thing that goes in everybody's mind pretty much on this planet that has ever experienced this is the feeling of isolation. It's the feeling of nobody understanding and nobody being there. And when you finally get the story out, it doesn't solve it. But it's a huge weight that can be lifted to be understood because you don't feel anybody understands you. I don't feel like people understand me or where I'm coming from because my situation is totally different than all yours. But all your situations are totally different from everyone else's too. But what we feel is the base emotion of loneliness, misunderstood, isolation, and just not seeing a future and not knowing where to go. And we all need that. And I think pushing it is trying to get that out there if you can is important. If you can't get it out there, yeah, we're off Instagram only an hour allowed. So if you can't get it out there, then get people around you and maybe be that brave soul that reaches out to somebody. Just to have company. Because if you're not talking about your problem at all, but you've got somebody next to you just talking about the bullshit movie they just saw, it's still a human emotion connection. And we need that. Everybody needs that in their lives. If you leave yourself with yourself, you can only teach yourself what you're already thinking. And that's a spiral. And it's a bad spiral that takes us to this place. Nikki, Tree, do you have anything to comment on that?
No, I don't. I mean, yeah.
No.
All right, well, that went well. That went well. Very engaging.
Wait a minute. Actually, I do have one thing to say though, because you did miss, like when you said feeling judged, that like hit like a ton of bricks. Because I think that's another universal thing that we could say we all feel is why we don't say it is because for fear of being judged. And I can say even my most recent situation, I was like you, Keith. It took me a couple attempts to reach out to the one person I thought I could talk to who would not judge, who would allow me the space to feel safe. And I want to say it took 3 or 4, like, typing up the message and then deleting it before I finally did send something so dumbed down and simple. And like Rhonda, it was crickets. Like, that one person I thought I could entrust in, I didn't hear from for weeks. Like, in my mind, I was like, damn, like, thank goodness I was able to somehow, not somehow, my kids are my driving force. My kids are why I'm still here to this day. If I didn't have that, I could, like, with faith, say I probably wouldn't be here. And especially from, a situation like that, reaching out to that one entrusted soul and getting no response, that cuts like a knife. Because
Yes.
we rely on those
their
people.
phone call would be answered by me any time of day or night.
Right.
If not returned.
Yeah.
If not returned as soon as possible, to make sure you get in touch with them, because if certain people are calling you, there's something to
A
them.
reason, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have the abilities, call it spiritual, whatever, to feel something when certain calls come in or certain texts that this is different.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of
Uh-huh.
us have gone through stuff like that before, and we're not the only ones. A lot of people get those feelings, and that's when they got to pick up the phone. And you talk about who you can rely on, and sometimes the ones you rely on or think will be there aren't the ones that are going to get back to you.
Right.
And
Right.
it changes your perspective, because the few people you thought you had, you don't. Honestly, I'd be in your boat, and I question literally right now if I would be on this show right now if not for a phone call that I received from somebody. And they were a customer. They were somebody I barely talked to, I knew from the bar. And a lot of what they said was kind of, I don't mean to put them down if they're watching this, but same old shtick. Don't get me wrong. But when certain people will contact you because they do care about you. They do care what's going on, even if they don't reach out. But my question and my problem for everybody out there in this panel, why does it have to get to that point? If you really do care about somebody and you love them and they have a problem and you reach out because they have a problem, why didn't you do it sooner?
Yeah.
Does anybody have an answer for that?
There is no good answer.
There is
I don't
none.
think so.
But I
Right.
think a lot of it is disappointment. Because personally, I always feel like I'm the one that reaches out.
Mm.
When I see you have a problem, I'm reaching out to you. Constantly. I reach out to this person, I reach out to that person. Being in our field, we hear everybody's problems. We're their go-to person. And I know for me personally, I spend my life trying to make other people's lives better. And that one time that I needed somebody, all those people that I reached out to over these years, 20 years of reaching out, I got nothing in return. And so
Yeah.
at some point, I don't want to hear your problems anymore. Like at some point, you become numb to other people's problems when you don't get it in return.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only reaching out and not getting a response is worse.
It is.
You
There's,
can, because then you're trying, and eventually it does exactly what you said. You become numb to it. You don't care anymore, because I'm like, where the okay, I'm an idiot with this, but where the fuck were you during my problems?
Right.
But at the same time, I'm gonna deplete myself into the negative, because I'm still gonna help you if you need it.
Because I'm still going to help you. I'm
Because
still
we're
going to be
fucking
there.
idiots. That's what we do.
That's what we do. But why is there
Yeah.
only such a select few people that are that way? There's so many people that need help, but there's so few like us that are there to offer the assistance.
And people have to understand that people like us, we can't be there all the time.
Mm.
We will try. We will miss people's situation. Nikki, I in no way think you don't care about me, but you missed it. That's understandable with that. That's why you need groups of people so that somebody can fill those gaps. Like if you were one of those people that said, I'm going to take that moment, it might be because their best friend couldn't take that moment or doesn't even know. So fill that gap for them through
Mhm.
nobody's fault, through anything like that. I interrupted you. You were going to say something, Nikki. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to say anything. I do have something else to say though. The problem with the only problem with like with hoping other people could fill those gaps and reach out is if we're not saying it, like if we're not verbalizing it, or then we're keeping it to ourselves. The ones who aren't like super close and even our super close people may not recognize. People on the outside looking in may not recognize
No.
that they even need to reach out. And
Right.
like your other question, why are we not reaching out before it gets that bad? Well, as humans, the general human species, we're very selfish creatures. We're very self-centered, and I mean, not to mention life gets busy. That's still not an excuse. But if we're not reaching out and expressing our need for someone to reach back out, now we're upset for no reason. We're not no reason,
Right.
but we're upset
But no,
for the wrong reasons, maybe.
We can
Right.
pull ourselves into those situations just based on that, and we don't.
Right.
But the problem, I don't want to get that everybody has to always reach out. How you doing all the time? But sometimes that reach out is, and I a little bit disagree with what you say by we're the selfish humans by nature. I agree we are selfish humans. A lot of times humans work in their own self interest, but this is, I think, a more current feeling in the way people handle things, because it's not worth the effort if you can't swipe it away. If you
Yeah.
can't just give it an emoji.
Yeah.
You can't just click it, because
Right.
I would say, not to cite our ages. I know we're all in our mid-20s, but
20s.
yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah. But 15 years ago, you were constantly trying to connect with people.
Yeah.
You were trying to get group get-togethers. You included a lot of people. You always tried to make the best of everything. And now it's so selective that you have 1,000 friends on Facebook, say. Don't care about half of them. The ones that actually do matter or care, they get grouped inside them, and it's too much effort. I posted things, people responded too long, didn't read. Like, it's not
Really?
worth the effort. Yeah, like, not necessarily this, but just things in the past.
Right.
I've seen. Or TLDR, whatever it is. Yeah, I was like, that's because we're in this world where lives are a swipe away. Whether it's a swipe up,
Yeah.
a swipe to the left, it doesn't matter. Their entire lives are excusable. And that's what we've got to get out of as a society. People fucking matter. Everybody matters. Even me, who is in this weird place right now, matter. They deserve your attention. They deserve basic, common decency. If you'd rather sit home and play a video game, we had video games when we were kids. We still had other things. They'd rather sit home, play their video games, or sit home staring at their phone, or on, YouTube, or let me sound old, the YouTubies and the Twits and stuff like that. I was like,
Twits.
they would rather do that. That's what Twitter people are. They're twits. I was like, but they would rather do that than connect. But if you're bored at home alone, reach out. Don't reach out because somebody needs help. Reach out and say, hey, do you want to grab dinner? Hey, do you want to go bowl a game? I got to go shopping. You want to join me? There are so many little things that can save somebody's life, and we fail as a society to do it. And I'm definitely not talking about individuals. If we can get over that hurdle, if people watching can take the fucking time to give somebody a call, you can prevent them from getting here. You won't prevent them all, but it is way more rampant than it ever was now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a
That's
lot
true.
harder to see 1,000 friends and have nobody respond than have 5 and nobody responds, or just 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot different.
Well, and I think some of that is inherent in the whole idea of social media, because like we have all these avenues to give us access to all these people, but like it's not really social.
No.
Right.
It's not really social. It's
It's
like, oh yeah, I've got all these friends, but yeah, how many of those people do you even interact with? How many of
Right.
those people are truly, and like I'm as guilty as anyone else, like the people on my, there's people for sure I could probably delete 30 people who I don't even like anymore.
Right.
Like something like I just don't, it isn't something that's worth my time to go through and like delete people, but it's just like we've got all these people, so we think we're social. We play online video, like you talk about video
yeah.
games,
Yes.
online video games, so we think we're socializing with people. But are we? And like
No.
even in that, sometimes the mask of social media maybe gives us, and I'm not saying like me or anyone on the panel or anyone in specific, just general, making a general statement. Like people think that they can say anything to anyone
Yeah.
because, well, it's not like
Yes.
you would never say that to someone's face. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
And they
You never
actually,
write a letter and give it to someone and it
yeah.
says some of the stuff that you say on social media.
People
Right.
often, I'm finding, and I believe this with a ton of people out there, that they don't comment unless they can get reactions on their comment.
Yeah.
Right.
Like their only comment,
Status.
yeah, because they want people to say something or be the funny one or the serious one or the one that had the balls to say it or something like that on a comment. If you really cared with half these comments I see, you would contact that person.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big things I put on my post: do not contact me, do not message me, do not comment. I mean, people comment, and I appreciate the comments. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's don't comment, don't like, don't message. If you understand this message probably, you know I need to hear from you. You know, like it
Right.
was that simple. But people do it, and people want to feel high and mighty and stuff, and by doing so, you're destroying it. And even something as little as that, when I see some things, now I'm not talking about people who commented and contacted me right afterwards. Rhonda, you did great.
Yes, girl.
But but when you do that, I mean, half of me said, "You guys aren't even reading my full post.
Right.
You don't really care. It's how quick can I get through this?" And by the way, fuck Facebook. Like one of the reasons a lot of this shit happens, and thank you for letting us stream Facebook. But
Right.
one of the reasons a lot of this shit happens is I've got a story. I'm gonna kill myself. Now my story didn't exactly say that. It was
Right.
like I said, meant to be kind of cryptic. But I've got this story. But oh my God, Amazon is selling a new pillow that you can sleep on your side and it's so comfortable. And oh, I'm gonna click on that and I'm gonna go here and you're gonna get so lost. And what's worse with these media outlets is when you go back, that post is gone.
Right.
It's buried under 100 other things anymore. People don't matter. And Facebook was designed with the idea of connecting people. It was a brilliant idea. And we're losing the connection. You're right. The social media, to read what you said, it's anti-social media. It's teaching you how not to be social, but feel like you're the greatest. It's all about numbers. It's all about first place. It's all about
Wow.
numbers. It's all about... something's getting feedback there.
It wasn't me this time.
No. So, but you're right. Now, I know I can't change the world. I know we can't change the world. I know we can't make this happen overnight. But there is nothing wrong with picking up that phone or sending a text to somebody or arranging a meet or going out to the bar or doing something with people who you haven't in a while. First of all, that's how best friends get made. And that's how new friends can come around. Try it sometime. If you're out there, just try it. Try to reach out to somebody. Try to say, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to watch the game. Do you want to come join? It's a good game, by the way.
It was a great game.
It was a good game. It was. Lions fans. So, if you couldn't tell by the shirts.
Right? Still got mine on.
Yeah. We could, but I don't know how we get that through. And one of the things we can do, I think, as people, is not just talk about it on shows like this. Is not just talk about what we can do and expect other people to do it. We ourselves have to do it, and I'm just as guilty.
Well, right.
I don't
think
often do that.
when we went for lunch, Margarita Monday, that was awesome, by the way. Let's do that soon.
What? Did I miss a Margarita Monday?
You
You
missed
missed a
Margarita
Margarita
Monday.
Monday.
That's a bummer.
But I think even when I left that day, I said to you, and you know me very, very well, I tell everybody I am the worst friend in the whole world. I will be there. All you got to do is pick up the phone, and I will be there in 5 minutes. But as far as being a terrible friend, I'm not one to reach out to people.
Yeah.
If I see, we were talking about Facebook, if I see a post on Facebook, I don't always log into Facebook, but when I do, if that post pops up, I'm probably going to be one of the first people to contact you. But as far as just to reach out on a weekly basis to say, "Hey bud, how you doing?" I'm a terrible friend and I know that. And even after our lunch, it took me 3 days to reach back out to you. And
No, what's the
every
thing?
day I kept saying, "I got to get a hold of Keith. I need to check on him. I need to check on him." But I didn't. And there's no reason to that madness. There is no reason. I'm retired. I have nothing going on in my world. It was just all of a sudden my day was coming to an end. And it's like, well, shit, I forgot to reach out to Keith. And it took me 3 days to reach out to him to finally say, "Hey, bud, how you doing? Like, are you still hanging in there? You know, what can I do to help?" It took me 3 days to do it. I did do it. But I always tell everybody I am a terrible friend.
We, you're not a terrible friend, but I get that feeling, and I feel that way too because I do that, and sometimes I don't know your reasoning necessarily, or if you have something to pinpoint it to, but mine is I used to text everybody, and there's only so many times you get no response
Right.
to the point you don't want to because every time somebody can't even say I'm busy right now or I'll talk to you later or something like that, or hey, what's going on? I can't talk at the moment. Every time you just ignore them, you're pushing them over a cliff,
Yeah.
and you're pushing harder and harder
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes it's not just you, it's everybody in their life,
Hmm.
and they only need one
Right.
to make that difference. And it gets tiring because
Yes.
now I don't want to reach out to people because if
Right.
I'm feeling bad and I want to talk to somebody, if you ignore me, and more so if 10 people ignore me,
Right.
which has definitely been the case, it's going to take me in a further place, way further.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference in having to pick up and talk to somebody for 5 minutes versus saying, if I could only talk to him again for 5 minutes. But then,
Amen.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because
Sure.
if you just don't take these little 5 minute steps, you may never get a chance to climb that stairway. You'll never get a chance to talk to that person again, and they'll be gone from your life.
I agree.
Yeah. Don't.
It's a scary thing.
It is because people feel so unwanted, and I directly can relate right now with that.
Hmm.
That it only takes one more push, and you really want
Hmm.
to be that push. You know, it's not hard. We all want to do stuff, but we're lazy as a society now.
We are.
We do our own
That's
things.
exactly
Yeah.
it.
Well, people don't even want to work anymore. Well, I don't blame them. Work sucks, but at the same time, but I mean, they don't want to make money. A lot of the younger, they don't even want to make money anymore. They're just the only way they want to make money is through being social media famous.
Social media.
Yep,
Easy.
yep. That's all it takes. Not easy for us. We've been trying.
Right.
Nah, we're good. We got a lot. So let's close it out with the final steps here. Uh, Basically, I know we could talk forever on this, just blah blah blah, but getting out of it. Is there a way to turn emotions? Is there a way to view things differently? If there is, and you've done it, explain it. And I'll start with me. Like one thing I've actually started to do over the last few days is I'm using anger. I don't get mad, but I'm starting to get mad at people. I'm like, why the fuck am I destroying myself because you're an asshole? Fuck you. I don't need you in my fucking life. And I hate to say I'm using anger that way, but I am. Because I'm tired of it. How can I be that meaningless? The biggest thing that ever fucking bothers me is being dismissible. And how can somebody you like or care about be so fucking dismissible? You're the asshole, go fuck yourself. And that's mine right now. I'm using anger as you're the asshole. I'm not suffering because of you. Does anybody else have anything they use emotionally or any things they do to try to prevent themselves from getting back to those places or even getting them out of them right now? Go ahead, Rhonda. You're shaking your head yes, and I'll go to Nikki.
Yes. For me personally, with my story, um, I always held my stories in. Oh, here we go again. Out of embarrassment. And
Okay, I
so, got
I,
it.
yeah, we're good.
So for me, my new thing is I don't care if it's embarrassing. This is my story. This is what I'm going through right now. And whether you want to hear it or not, doesn't fucking matter to me. I need to tell my story. I need to get it off my chest. And you're going to listen. You're going to take 5 minutes and listen to my story. And what you do with that information, that falls on you. But I can no longer say that it's my fault because I didn't tell anybody. And that's what I was going through. I'm a new person now. I'm going to tell my story. And now it's going to fall on you.
I love that. Nikki, follow that because that's the best.
Sorry.
The hell, Rhonda.
Wow. Wow.
So what do I use? Jeez, Rhonda.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. So one thing I've started doing was being very selfish, and I say that not in a sense of like I'm not in a negative way, but I'm learning to do things to make myself happy in life in general. If I want the shoes, I buy the shoes. If I want to color my hair 3 colors, I color my hair
Oh,
3 colors. I just don't care how my decisions affect people anymore. If my heart is good, if my mind is good, then I keep on going. Plain and simple.
That's actually really well said
Good
too.
for you.
And
Thanks.
selfishness is crucial to happiness. I tell people that all the time, and I don't mean
Right.
it. You got to be a selfish asshole, but your own self worth is very important.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Tree?
A little bit of mine, I would say, a little bit of what Nikki says, like, I just do it. Like, do what makes me happy, do what, I mean, obviously, I consider my husband a little bit, because, like, I don't want to piss him off, but, usually me being happy makes him happy, so it's fine. But yeah, like, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care if, like, my choices don't line up with what you think my life should be. And, like, for me, that was such a huge step, honestly. It's just like I don't care. And then the other thing, sometimes it's about like boundaries with those people who like quality over quantity. So like people who I know that I can, like, you have different people that are in different areas of your life. So like the people who are really close to me are the people I know I can count on.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that I
Yes.
know I can reach out to, and the people that I know I can trust. And even though I don't reach out, and I don't, but I know I could if I if I was going to. I know they're the ones. And then like I just work on like keeping strong boundaries. So those people who I know are going to be toxic, or they're going to make me feel those negative ways, like they have to be like 3 or 4 rings removed, because I just can't let that, like, it's not healthy for my mental health. Like
Right.
it doesn't, I can't let them in like that, and I can't let their opinions or their actions make me feel like that. And honestly, probably because of that, there's like, quality over quantity. There's not a lot of people in that circle.
No, and sometimes getting that smaller circle is going to make your quality of life a lot better.
100%.
Because,
Yes.
yeah, you only want so many that you can rely on and trust. But when those people do let you down, it becomes even harder
It is.
because it's a bigger ratio of people
Yeah.
that are
Right.
letting you down. comparison. One thing we can't do, even though we have our solutions, I just fucking hate everybody right now for all the shit they did to me. Rhonda just says, fuck you, I'm telling my story. You can choose what to do with it. Nikki and Tree, you know, you're going to internalize, or not internalize it, but you're going to find your way of getting through it to where you just don't give a fuck anymore. You're not going to waste your time getting angry. But you cannot lose yourself.
Yeah.
No matter what, when you get in these modes and you get in these ways of thinking, you can't take away who you are to begin with. You need to find a balance, and that's one of my hardest things to do in the world. Because my brother says it all the time. My brother can't relate to me because my brother doesn't have that desired need to help and solve the world, you know, in a loose way. You know, I'm not really gonna take out any presidents or anything, but you know, he can't relate to it and solve the world, and he doesn't know what it's like. You have to be able to keep who you are, but understands the mistakes that you've made, and understand the areas that have let you down dark paths. And how you can keep that up. Because if you lose who you are, it is equally as devastating. But put blame where it fucking goes. Like Rhonda says now, I mean, you choose to do nothing, that's your fault. You know, like Nikki or Tree, I don't care anymore. That's on you. Put the blame where it goes, but don't lose who you are. And, you know, just try your best and try to make sure that you that everybody matters, and that the ones you make matter to you, you gotta matter to them. If we can pull that off, we might just edge this world in a better direction. There are so many things we can talk about on this show, especially when it comes to topics like this and suicide and depression. We could have gone 4 hours. We're trying not to make it so long for people so they don't get too lost, because we do that sometimes. But the truth is people who are depressed and down, a lot of them do come out and they go for attention. They want attention. They want people to help them. Or they want people to be there, and they're putting on a sob story. Now, there's a different group of people. There's two separations here. And the problem is we as a society ignore one. And we shouldn't. Because sometimes those people that are crying for help intentionally out loud and are just attention whores, as people would call them, they're attention whores for a reason. They still need help sometimes. And you can't always just turn a blind eye to them. But at the same time, you've got these other people that are just quiet about it and only reach out when they need to, which could be hardly ever. I never put a post on Facebook about that. I have said I'm depressed, I'm down, or something like that. I have never put one when I was scared for my own mental health. And you can't ignore those people either. The problem with all this darkness and all these feelings is they're universal. Everybody experiences them at some point in their life. What people do with them matters, but you can stop it. You can't stop it for yourself sometimes, but those around you can. And if you're one of those people around somebody else, you can stop it. Make the move. Make the difference. Talk to somebody. So let them know that they matter to you more than once a year, or more than when they're at their darkest. Because at their darkest, all they see is they didn't matter to you prior to this. So why now? You've got to make a move. You've got to reach out to people. You've got to say, hey, I'm there. Hey, I'm your friend. Hey, you're not alone. And not just the way we say you're not alone in your feelings, just you're not alone. You don't have to sit alone. Some of us do sit, lay in a bed all day, sit on a couch and watch TV all day with nobody there, nobody to talk to. Talk about the TV show that came out. Talk about a movie. Do something to contact people. That's the one thing this world is missing now, is contact from other individuals. We all feel better with somebody in the room. Social media is not social media, as Tree said on this. Because social media can never replace the power of a hug. Ever. It can never replace the emotional connection you have with somebody because they're next to you and you feel their aura, you feel their energy. Their words, they're typed, their messages. They're mixed in a whole group of other things. There is no personal connection. This world has fallen apart over the last 8 to 10 years because of the lack of personal connection. We can either ride it out till we're all alone and we all put a bullet in our mouth, or we can ride it together and enjoy the ride as friends with people who care about us. We can keep people in our lives longer. Suicide is painless for who? It hurts everybody around you.
Yeah.
It's definitely extremely painful for yourself when you're approaching these moments. You have nowhere to turn. You have nothing to do. So no, it's not painless. It's devastating. But what's more devastating is knowing you were there and did nothing. What's more devastating is know this entire time for 2 years you haven't talked to somebody when all you have to do is pick up a phone. When they have dropped the world for you and doing everything they can to make your life better, and they're not worth a message or a phone call, you're causing these problems with other people. Step up, be a human being, and show that you relate. And get back the connection that the world needs. We need love. We survive on love. I don't care how cliche it fucking sounds. Nobody survives from hate, and sometimes through their own self-doing. We can't live in a world like that anymore. Show the love and make sure it can spread. It's a ripple effect you can't stop, but somebody has to start it. I appreciate everybody who's been on this panel right now. This was a very, deep topic for people who've experienced stuff like this. They don't understand. When somebody's going through stuff like this, you cannot truly relate to them. Because the reason they're going through that is because nobody can relate to them. You have to put yourself where they are and just give them that moment with you by their side. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you talk about. It doesn't matter if you just give them a phone call to talk about absolutely nothing or how your day was. You mattered enough for them to pick up the phone and contact you. And don't take it for granted, because you should do that for other people as well. It works both ways. I love you all. I'm equally guilty of a lot of the stuff we talked about on here. I often don't reach out to people. I'm attracted to those with problems. I don't know how, but I am. That's what draws me in. And I often dismiss those that seem like everything is okay. And the sad thing is, we used to live in a world where you wanted to hang out with those people. If they were fun, you wanted to be there for them. But now, a lot of us don't. If they made you feel better, your little problems get solved, you move on now. It doesn't matter. We got to get that back. There's some qualities we've lost in the last few years that need to come back. There's a lot of qualities we have now that have benefited us. But there's a lot more that are destroying us. Nikki, you're an angel. I love you.
Love you, Keith.
You are my friend. You will always be my friend. I appreciate everything you do. I know a lot of the stuff you go through. I know this is such a hard thing to talk about where we've been. And I hope that none of us had to experience what we have experienced or are currently experiencing another time. We can be there for each other. Nikki, you are a prime example of somebody who can be there for other people. I appreciate that. Tree, lack of communication made it 30 years before we talked to each other. We both failed. But when we make those phone calls, or we make that contact, it changes our lives forever. And it has for both of us. You're a prime example of it. And sometimes there could be no other reason we didn't do it than just didn't have time. Believe something else. You show that it's never too late for anybody, Tree. And I see you smiling and happy now, and it's the greatest feeling I have in the world to see somebody like you getting through life and celebrating what you have. That a lot of us wouldn't have if we took those darkest steps and had nobody to pull us out of it, including ourselves. So I appreciate you more than you imagine. You're an inspiration.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Rhonda girl, we battling together. Okay. We currently in the fight. Okay.
We're in it.
I know definitely from a personal experience how difficult it is going through this. I really wanted to do this last week. The Lions game made it like almost impossible because everybody's a Lions fan. I get that because it was so fresh in my mind. But it doesn't stop for us regardless of this game. it doesn't stop for us, regardless who's there. We're constantly experiencing it right now. The strength you have to get on here, the strength you have to talk about the things you talk about, and the fact that you opened up to other people. You may not be a good friend in your own eyes, but I see you as the best friend in mine. I can't trade you for the world, anything like that, because you're one of a kind. The fact that you opened up and you share things and you're willing to talk about it is a strength a lot of us need to do. You can also be one who changes the world no matter what you're going through, because we've done it so far and we can keep it going. You have the power in you, and you are an awesome friend, because one thing that does matter, regardless if you don't follow every bit of advice we give, because none of us do, when it counts, you saved a life. Another one. So I thank you.
I love you.
I love you too. That being said, this is, I want to thank everybody who was here for joining us. Obviously, we didn't have a lot in the chat except for spam, but that's okay. We had people watching, and that's what counts, because sometimes you can't talk about things like that. But just remember, you're never alone. When you're going through these dark times, when you're feeling like there's nowhere else to turn, for the love of everybody, muster up the strength to try to find somebody by any means. I hated using Facebook to do it, but if I wouldn't have, the last show we aired might have been our last. So it's very important to do that. You're not going to pull people out of it. Just remind them how important they are. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I would say we're going to be back next week, but we're not going to be back next week. There's a night game for the Lions. But the next Sunday, there is not a football game going on, and I am not working. We will be back. We might do a Monday show instead if people are free. And I actually want to do anti-social media. I think we talked about it here. I think we should really hit into social media and what it's done and how it makes people feel. So when we come back, I hope we'll do that show. Other than that, thank you again for being here. You all take care and have a great night. Wipe those tears away. It's time for happy thoughts. Take it easy.
When you're alone and feeling down, and you're 10 feet underground, when you're so deep you're about to drown, when you're in the lost and found, 'cause heartaches only last a day. Ooh, but your heart will never fade away. Go out and find your way. Don't let them take your soul away. Not a week, not a single day. Hold true to what you wanna be. Never let go, and here's the key. Be you, yeah, only you. Only you. Be you, yeah, only you. Only you.
Put on those happy faces. Come on.
All right.
I know it's hard. Good job, everybody. I know it's tough to do. It's really tough to talk about, but people need to talk about it more. So,
Yeah, agreed.
I agree.
It was a great show, Keith.
yeah. Well, it was sad, but it was good
It
because
was sad.
even stuff like this and hearing you guys and where you are, that feeling of loneliness is something that we suffer from too much. It's really nice to know that other people are experiencing it. I mean, I could have gone into way more detail. Rhonda could. We all could have gone into
Yeah,
way
could have.
more detail
Oh yeah.
in the stuff that's been bothering us. But the truth is, the raw emotions what matches. So it's Rhonda. We got to be on a more fun show.
Ooh, right?
Okay. 'Cause, like,
Both my shows have been pretty deep, and we need something fun now.
Social media should be fun.
Yeah.
We'll hit a little deep, but we can also, talk a lot about the bullshit. 'Cause there's too much. Oh, Teresa. Because you are so good. I everybody's lit up. I love your hair, Rhonda. You're not frozen. This worked out well.
I know,
I do
right?
love your hair over there, Nikki. I know it's still
Oh.
like fiery.
I
It's
know. I love the
awesome.
color.
Yeah.
It just like it shifts over and it's all bright and fiery on one side of the
Right.
screen.
I know. It's like it's a little messy though. You should see my pillowcases. Pillowcases.
Give it that.
We've got to talk to the NFL about rescheduling football. They'll get it off of Sunday nights.
Yeah,
It's
what
funny that
the
we're doing our
fuck,
show.
man?
Like,
At least
haven't-
late nights.
yeah, that's what I mean. Sunday nights, not the afternoons are fine. You can have those.
Yeah, today worked.
Right?
I like those early Sunday games
Ooh, last week
because
They're
I
better.
waited all damn week for it, and I don't think I could take a long Sunday wait anymore.
Right.
Yeah, but damn it, they won. I don't
I
know if I have a
know.
Super Bowl party or not. Because if they
Which-
win and they go to the Super Bowl, I'm not having a Super Bowl party. I'm only having it if they don't go to the Super Bowl. Because mine is
Why?
the Super Bowl. Mine is the Super Bowl party for the non-football fan. Some people come to
Oh.
watch it, and I mean, we watch the game and we enjoy it, but we're watching because it's a Super Bowl game for a lot of these people.
Okay. You're watching
And-
the commercials.
Yeah, that's what it's really. It's for the party, it's for the commercials, it's for the
Yeah, for the
halftime show. The
chicken
people that
wings.
enjoy that. Yeah. And I mean, we have a couple football people there. I try to watch the game when I'm not working, the party. But the thing is if it's the Lions, first of all, I'm going to watch this game. I'm not going to want to do it. I'm not going to want to be doing
Right.
the party.
Right.
Right.
Second of all, people need to go where football fans are
Yes.
in my state.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to go here, and I'm not going to put out this big spread when everybody else is going somewhere else and doing their own thing. So I'm like, if they make it, I'll have something at my house. I'll have
If
my
they
brother.
make it, I'm going downtown to watch it somewhere.
That's what I mean.
Somewhere.
That's what I mean. That's why
Right.
it's like if they win, I'm not doing my little party.
Let me know if you do that, Nikki. We'll catch up with you. We'll do something down there
Yes.
because I know
Yes.
that this guy's gonna want to do that too.
Yeah.
hmm We should do Everybody Goes
Mm.
Margarita Monday on a Sunday.
Margarita Monday on a
Yeah.
Sunday.
It wasn't a planned Margarita Monday, by the way. I tried to get
No,
that
it-
together before. It was we had
Yes.
to reshift to Monday.
So offended.
Don't be
Okay.
offended. It just
I'm
felt
kidding.
that way.
I'm kidding. I'm just being sassy. I'm kidding.
And it was just a fun name for it, for a sad
Mhm.
situation.
When we first
Yes.
got together doing this show, we all like tried to meet who was from this area. We tried to meet for Margarita Monday. And we wanted to
Yes.
keep it going as a regular thing, but it just didn't happen because, well, Nikki
No.
ruined it for everybody.
How did I
and
ruin it for
What
everybody?
did you do?
I don't know. I just want to blame somebody.
No.
Like,
I'll take the blame if need be.
I mean,
I'll
somebody's.
blame my ADHD.
Those were fun times, though.
Yes.